fact that it's based on true events and all the work we did to try and be true to it. We have an extensive team that worked very hard to try and make it as real as it could possibly be, from the actual science of it all the way through the performance and just the reality of the emotions of the actors in the scenes. Everybody was very diligent about trying to be as honest as possible. Well, everything in the series is from his book. There are parts of the book that we did not do because of mostly time and because of the narrative that we wanted to sort of pick out of the book. But everything does come from his book, but there's more to it. If you're interested in it, you could certainly read the book. It's a terrific book. And there are plenty of bits that we didn't get around to making because you can't do it all. I think it's important to understand what we're dealing with, how quickly it happens, how savage and relentless the virus is. And I think that we talked about trying to dull it down a little bit, and I shot it in a way where we could kind of go either way, but we did decide ultimately we did need to show that to bring the reality and the gravity to it. There didn't seem to be another way that was as effective to set it up in the beginning. And then we tried to pull back a little bit after that so that it's not a gore fest, because we didn't want it to be that kind of thing. But it's a terrible situation and we had to show. From a team of experts. I mean, it mostly came down from Nancy Jacks herself. She was very generous with us in telling us the particulars of her story, because obviously we were trying to base it mostly on her story. There are many people that were involved that are very interesting, but we kind of tried to root it in her. So she was our main expert, her husband Jerry, of course, and then they have a nephew who is another heroic figure who was very available to us as well when he would tear away from his day job of treating children. He's a really remarkable guy and just would work all the time and still find time to send us all the information that we needed, because we were pretty ignorant going into it and had to really educate ourselves as much as possible. So the individual people, and National Geographic itself, of course, is an amazing resource of pretty much everything, so they were essential. For the moment, humans, I would like to think, but the viruses are pretty dangerous. At the moment, I think we're a little bit ahead of the viruses, but it's a race. It can be somewhat limiting because usually it's a timeline thing. Things might happen more spread out over time than you might wish, but we try to honor those as much as possible. I mean, life is usually more interesting than anything anyone can invent. And something as profound as this experience was for everybody involved, you just kind of try and honor what actually happened. All the details of individual lives are almost always more interesting. I don't know that they're my favorite, but I really enjoy them. I mean, the tools that you use to try and build suspense are fun and can apply to other stories that aren't necessarily strictly suspenseful to begin with or in the end. I enjoy working in that, but it's not my exclusive interest. Well, the book itself, first of all, and the script that Brian and Kelly wrote was great. And the fact that Linda Opst, who had been trying to produce this for nigh on 30 years, was still carrying it through to the finish line was inspiring to me. And I thought this is someone who's definitely going to make sure that we have everything we need to make it as good as we can make it. I have not met them. I've had contact through email, but they wisely we had a information infrastructure set up to give to them, because otherwise all of us would just be hounding them all the time. So they were very generous, but it was definitely it was an electronic relationship.